Well, it's a new day and a new relic has been revealed for Leagues. This one is called Perkfection, and I've got to be honest, initially looking at it, it's quite good. So, what it does is you get infinite invention materials. They've got a video they show you with 100k of everything, that's the cap. But I'm assuming if you spend some of those, you just get them all back instantly. So yeah, infinite invention materials is absolutely massive. Augmented items and machines consume no charge. Helpful perks will trigger 10% more often. Those are essentially perks that have a chance of working. So combat-wise, that could be like the biting perk, for example, would trigger 10% more. For skilling, that's like honed, which gives you a higher chance of capturing your resource. So that's really nice. So it's essentially like having level 20 armor or weapons from the get-go, which is quite a nice benefit. And then invention machines will run twice as fast. This one, I'm going to say a little bit underpowered, I would be willing to say, because twice as fast isn't actually that fast. And I mean, I know they don't use charges, but yeah, come on, surely bumped it up to like 10 times as fast, right? And then here's an interesting one. When disassembling or alchemizing items manually, you gain the resources from both actions. So that essentially means if you alch or disassemble something, you will get the invention materials for it, which is kind of useless because you have infinite materials, but it also counts as an alch, so you make a lot of money in the process. And while you're doing this, while you're disassembling or alching manually, you have a 66% chance to save the resource. And that's quite good. That is quite good indeed, because what that means is if you buy something very, very expensive from a shop, for example, a magic stone in the Keldgren, like stonemason's shop place, they cost like 975k. They alch for like 600 and something k, I think. So if you have a 66% chance to save that, you are making big bucks. Like very big bucks. This is essentially the infinite money thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be as good as Old School's one, which they had the Golden God Relic, which basically let you cast High Alch on a slot in your inventory and it would just permanently alch no matter what you're doing. Like if you're skilling, if you're killing, if you're doing anything, it would permanently be alching. Here it does seem like you'll be limited to kind of just standing still and not being attacked or anything and having the disassemble window open, which, you know, it is good in that it lets you do 60 actions in one go, because we don't have any other kind of AFK alching in RS3. So this will let you alch 60 things in a row while saving most of them. So it will be a good way to generate money, but it's not the best at kind of like multi-skilling, as it were, compared to the Golden God from Old School. Another thing here as well is you unlock all blueprints in the Dwarven and Goblin tech tree. This basically gives you access to all sorts of fun gadgets, but like the Oldak coil, good for AoEing mobs down. Mechanized Chinchompers, quite good for ranged AoE as well. So you've got some things to do there. So how strong is this relic really? On paper, it looks very, very, very good. Because invention, as we know, it's a pretty important skill, and there are a few things to bear in mind here as well when it comes to decisions. So the augmented items and machines consume no charge. What this essentially does is means that you won't really need divine energy to run the invention. So the beginning relic, the woodcutting and woodcutting and divination one, this was already trash. It is now even more obsolete. So yeah, we will not be getting double energies from divination springs because we have nothing to spend them on if we're taking this relic, which will mean that we don't use any charges anyway, which is quite nice. So that is a really cool effect. This might be a really good relic if you like PvN, like a good combat relic, because yeah, you don't have to do that much skilling. You can just like run on straight in, perk all your gear with whatever you want, which is literally whatever you want, by the way. You could you know, you've got infinite materials, you can get any perk you want to if you want to spend enough time making and disassembling and trying and failing. But one thing that is quite important with the making and disassembling and trying and failing is you can do that forever. And making gizmos and adding materials to them, that gets you XP. So if you have infinite gizmos and infinite materials, you essentially have infinite invention XP. So what that means is, you know, there are probably going to be tasks that are like, hey, get 50 mil XP in this skill, get 100 mil, get level 120, you know, get 150 mil, maybe even a 200 mil leagues task. This thing, you could literally do it all at the invention bench. You just make a bunch of gizmos, you put the most expensive stuff possible in there, you know, the ones that give you the most XP, and you just spam click, make all the gizmos, and then just disassemble them, and then do it all again. Like, and that's not to forget that this relic does not mention specifically invention blueprints. I know it says dwarven and goblin blueprints, but those are not the same as standard invention blueprint discoveries, which, assuming they are not auto-unlocked, and you do them all yourself, you can probably get, you know, near enough level like 99 or 120 invention just by, you know, getting perfect on each one of those discoveries. Because you'll have the XP boost from leagues, you know, by this point, you know, this is seemingly quite a strong relic, you'll probably have many, many XP boosts by this point. And then if you combine that with an extreme invention potion, if you can get your hands on one, then you can probably make every single discovery, and you can literally just speedrun yourself all the way to 99, 120, or even 200 mil if you want to, most likely. So this could be a really, really good way to get some of that, you know, those big levels and XP going on. So definitely something to consider. There is potentially a slight downside to this perk, though, I must admit. So having infinite invention perks, it sounds really good. You know, invention is really strong in the main game. It makes you powerful. You know, the perks are really helpful for, you know, combat and skilling. But, and I say but, in leagues, we are already going to be super duper powerful. How much more power will invention give comparatively? So let's say in main game, let's say invention gives us 20% more power. You know, cool, that's amazing, wonderful. But then in leagues, if we're already so powerful, like invention is probably not going to make us 20% more powerful than that. So something to bear in mind is, while this sounds really good, it may not be quite as good as you want it to be. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. You know, there's potentially some other choices to choose from, and there is potentially some competitive things as well. And there's a picture here from Sooty. You guys might know him. He's a bit of a genius when it comes to discovering things pre-release. But these are his theories on where each of the relics are going. And if you look here in number 6, processing, this is where he thinks these relics are going. So the one we got yesterday, Production Master, and the one today, Invention, he thinks that those are going to be competing, which may be right, it may be wrong. But yeah, if these are competing, you've got to choose. Do you want infinite invention perks and everything that goes with it? Or would you rather have all of these production things being instantly made, plus all the portable effects, plus all the Brooch of the Gods, you know, Seren Spirits and stuff, stat boosts to make overloads early? It's a bit of a conundrum. I am leaning more towards the perk one, to be honest, because I think these skills that this one benefits, they can be trained in other ways instead. And one big thing as well to remember with invention and perks and items, materials and stuff, is if any of you have ever done an Iron Man and just unlocked invention, the first part of invention really sucks on Iron Man, because all you're doing is you're running around all over the world, going to various shops to try and disassemble, you know, purchase and disassemble swords and bows and all sorts, and it's a bit of a pain. So if this perk, this relic, can stop that from happening, like you can just skip the really annoying part, this may be a must-have. And if that is the case, then yeah, Production Master, if it is a competing relic, which it might not be again, but Sooty thinks it might be. If it is a competing relic, then I think Production Master is out the window, it's gone, and we're going to be all aboard the Perkfection train at present. Remember, things do change. So yeah, I would say this is a very solid, like, you know, 8.5 out of 10 relic. It's very, very good, and it makes invention completely free. So definitely one to heavily think about choosing, whatever tier that may be, which it could be tier 6, it could not be. But the real question is then, what is the third relic in this tier that is the other competitor? Sooty thinks it's Reloaded, which is one where you can go back to a previous tier and then choose a relic that you didn't get in the past. I'm not sure I agree with that. I feel like this one, this backwards arrow might be Reloaded instead, because in old school leagues they did have Reloaded in tier 4. So my bets are on this one down here, which means, yeah, you get like possibly one of these other ones, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there, because we don't know quite what these do yet. We have some ideas, but there is a lot of information missing, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, overall, very, very solid relic here. Definitely one to consider picking up. Hopefully you enjoyed this little ramble, and yeah, if you like infinite money and infinite gizmos and infinite materials, then this one might well be for you. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next one.